Well, we're looking ahead to the Club World Cup final this Sunday. Chelsea, they took down Fluminense 2-0 to book their place in the final, and PSG took down Real Madrid 4-0. Now, we've been talking a lot about this PSG side, so let's give some love to this Chelsea side. Now, Chelsea, they did have to face several Brazilian teams to make it to this final, but there was one Brazilian team that was able to get the win with the 3-1 win from Flamengo. So, you're representing the Brazilian team that was able to take down this Chelsea side. But how has Chelsea grown since that loss?
Well, going back to that match, it was the first time all tournament that Enzo Maresca did something I've never seen him do in the last 6 months. He played with both fullbacks high up the pitch, right? Marc Cucurella, we usually see him in the build-up as a back three. We saw Malo Gusto, who probably had his worst game of the tournament, and they lost a lot of width, playing Pedro Neto more centrally as a second forward. They've regained order, right? And this is a side that when you have order in the form of a midfield, you have order in the form of outlet through Pedro Neto, and a back line that seems more at ease and not trying to play out of the back, dealing better with the press, you have a better Chelsea. This is a side that just seems more professional in their approach to this tournament, and just a young side that believes that they have a bit of swagger about them. They can go and do something special at the Club World Cup.
Yeah. Now, for Chelsea, for them to get past this PSG side, as you talked about, we saw something different from them, and we've seen them regain their form to be able to make it to the final. Now, Moises Caicedo, he did leave the last game with an injury, and it was a little bit up in the air whether or not we would see him play in this final. Reports do say he has been training and potentially he will start. But regardless of that, how much will Enzo Fernández, the captain of Chelsea, really need to step up in this final? They're going to need a lot of leadership here.
Yeah, listen, I think he has stepped up this tournament, but I don't think you can say regardless of if Moises Caicedo plays or not, because if you have Moises Caicedo and you don't, it's a black and white story, right? Yeah. The partnership between Enzo Fernández and Moises Caicedo, it's incredible. I mean, he's allowed to have all these stats in the last 20 matches because he's paired with a Moises Caicedo. You got somebody that can put out fires behind your back, and you could have certain liberties. Enzo Fernández is a midfielder, for all intents and purposes, almost like a deep-lying midfielder that has a lot of, in Spanish and in Argentine, you say llegada, arrival. He steps into the box. He has a little bit more verticality than your typical midfielder, and he has a knack for goal, right? I mean, he has 4 goals, 9 assists. He can pick out that pass, but I do think his role changes. Yeah, sure, it'll be Romeo Lavia, but it's not the same as if Moises Caicedo is right next to you. Yeah, and there's a possibility he plays, right? But what we're seeing from Chelsea, I think, with Caicedo and Enzo Fernández, because ultimately that's what it's going to be when they're healthy, is what we thought we'd get when they both came to the club. If you remember, Enzo Fernández 2 years ago started as a number 10. Before Cole Palmer got into the group and got integrated, right? They were playing him way high up the field. Carlos Palmer?
I think he turned into Carlos Palmer in the Conference League final when he went whoop.
Yeah, Cole Palmer, he heated up at the end of last year, right? Didn't get any goals, but that's what they thought this Chelsea side would be. And if you talk about where you need to be good against PSG in a final, it's right in the middle of the field. That's where the engine is for PSG. So that I think is going to be the key, right, for this side. Plus, you know what? Everyone's talking about the heat. It's a long tournament. It's in India. This is a pretty deep side, this Chelsea side. When you look down their roster, you look at it and go, okay, if they've got to go and make some changes, this is one of the deepest sides in the world. Heck, they didn't have a locker room. They didn't have a locker room to put all these guys in a year ago. They were sitting outside in the hallway. So that will play eventually, especially in the Premier League. That'll be a huge advantage for them. But Enzo Maresca, the dichotomy between the two managers. You got Luis Enrique coming out and saying, no, we're good. We're going to win everything this year. We are the best team in the world. And then if you remember Maresca at the beginning of the year when they were at the top of the table, he was saying, no, we're not a champion. And I'm thinking as a player, no, I want to hear I'm a champion all the time.
I thought that was a poor choice of words by Enzo Maresca back then, and I think it coincided with Chelsea's slump that kind of put them out.
And he rode that horse for a while. It wasn't like a one press conference thing.
I thought he wanted to curb expectations. It definitely seemed like it, not set expectations too high. It's a brand new project. You're trying to figure things out, really. And I don't know if one affected the other, but Chelsea started playing poorly once he started with that rhetoric. So maybe he does change for this season the way that he speaks outwardly, because they're onto something. It feels like finally, like it took him like a good portion of this second half of the season to figure it out again. But man, they're onto something. They've got parts. They've put a really good team together despite their squad being ginormous.
What do you think Enzo Maresca is going to tell his team to be able to stop this PSG side? Hopefully something a bit more positive than the negative comments. But what do you think he's going to tell his team to be able to get it done against this strong side, PSG side?
Going into this match, Pedro Neto said something about Enzo Fernández, who him and Moises Caicedo, they are the reference point on which this Chelsea recent success and where this project is going is being built on. It's not Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer, he's trying to find himself right now. It is those two in the midfield. In my opinion, we had this conversation this week. They are the best double pivot in the Premier League right now. And £200 million worth of players, that return on investment, it's showing itself and it's going to pay massive dividends. But you talked about the goon squad. Chelsea need to be a bit of that goon squad today. When we watched the match against Aston Villa in the Champions League, Villa through John McGinn, they started playing physical with PSG. They got a bit tighter. Rather than just letting PSG go, they went right through them. And it's going to depend on the refereeing situation. If you have a referee who's going to let the teams play, let physicality become part of the conversation, advantage Chelsea. Make the game nasty, force like Bayern Munich did to PSG, force PSG to go long over top and then smother them in the press. But it starts in the midfield.
Yeah, and, you know, PSG with the ball, obviously they're a very strong side, but it's not just that. It feels like a bit of the secret to their success is also the press that they have. So let's take a look at what Thibaut Courtois had to say. He said, I went to Dembélé and I told him that he presses a lot. Our pressing and PSG's pressing were so different. PSG suffocated us with their pressing.
I think he's talking more about Vini and Mbappe than he is about Dembélé here. Speaking of sending messages,
I mean, what do
sometimes teammates do that to set a fire in your teammates' belly.
You talking
Listen,
domestically?
no, I'm talking about your Thibaut Courtois against PSG in that Real Madrid game. But listen, when somebody on the other side is doing something incredible, that Dembélé forced 2 turnovers essentially, right? And he's ready to go. You see him at when a possession starts, he's like this, right? He's ready to go in a stance, ready to attack. And if Dembélé is doing it, everyone else is going to follow suit. I mean, go back to that. I mean, we keep on referencing that Luis Enrique message that he sent to Kylian Mbappe about running, about hustling, about playing like Jordan. If you want to be Jordan, you're already great, but if you want to be the greatest, you have to give me that work rate. And who would have said that Ousmane Dembélé, coming off of his time at Dortmund, coming off of his time at Barcelona, and we're like, okay, this kid is a lost cause, that someone was going to grab him and say, no, I'm going to make you a Ballon d'Or winner. You would have told me I was freaking crazy, and that's what he's going to be.
Tony, when you have a Dembélé, a Doué, a Kvara pressing so high up and putting that pressure, as Nico was talking about, how much does that help the team?
Well, it sets a tone, first of all, and the opposing team that wants to build out, right, all of a sudden you feel suffocated all the time. What do these guys want to do in a game? Right? What's the most precious thing to the three of this entire team actually is having the ball, right? So when the other team has the ball, I got to get it back as quickly as possible. What's the best way to do that? It's not to go drop back and let them knock the ball around and gain rhythm. It's to go and press. And you mentioned that video, but the video was related to Mbappe. Everybody's going to talk about the conversation but the video, for me, is really who is Luis Enrique and that team? So when you talk about it from a Chelsea standpoint, what do you have to do? When the ball turns over, watching this game, how many times will they turn the ball over within 1, 2, or 3 passes? Right? Because once you get past the second or third pass, you break sort of the first wave, and that's when you can be successful. Aston Villa, when you talk about that game, what did they do? They went direct and battled. Like, they skipped all the pressure. They skipped everything that was happening here, and they said, let's go play in this end of the field.
The sequence when they scored against PSG and it all raised our eyebrows. How many passes was that?
I think maybe
4?
2, 3.
And most it was like here. I remember John McGinn spinning out here, and then someone getting the ball here and pass there, goal. Right? It was. Yeah. It was in a blink of an eye they ended up scoring, and it feels like sometimes you kind of need to be direct in that sense, have that feeling for those moments. All right, either be direct or skip lines.
Because, Nico, what happens when the ball turns over in this area of the field and you get a press and you put the ball long and the guys who press, they're like, okay, now I got to run back. And then it happens one time, and then it happens 2 times, and 3 times, and 4 times. And then what happens after that? You stop pressing all of a sudden. You say, I'm not going to go and press. Now the game opens up a little bit. Now you have just a split second more on the ball, and now maybe you play a little bit. So you got to change the rhythm a little bit. You know they're going to press. They've told you on video they're going to press. You watch every game and they press, right? So you got to do something to figure it out.
Yeah, when you look at the 11s between the two sides, and we talked about the pressing, and one thing I'll add is the reference point for pressing is Ousmane Dembélé, but he's not running at the goalkeeper straight. It's angled runs. He's forcing it to one side. When I look at Chelsea, I actually think Chelsea, when healthy, if this is going to be their lineup, they match up pretty well with this PSG side. In midfield, that's going to be the big thing. But the 2 fullbacks, Malo Gusto is who I'm looking at, because on this side, Nuno Mensch and Kvaratskhelia, going back and watching Real Madrid, I mean, Christopher Nkunku, for as good as he is offensively, he's going to have to come back and be that safety foul for Malo Gusto, because against Flamengo, when Malo Gusto was caught up high and wide, if Flamengo on the counter can destroy Chelsea, PSG will have a field day with the overlap and Kvara playing in the half spaces.
That 2v1 is the most dangerous 2v1 in world football. I know we like to use the word overload.
Yeah.
2v1. If you catch this guy with Kvaratskhelia cutting in and Nuno Mendes on the outside, you're going to need help. And they do that so well, because it's either the underlap or the overlap, or Kvara's going to drive. Then you got a midfield, like, game over. You know, you can't be isolated in those positions. You need help.
Buckets, what do you have for us?
I want to start by apologizing to the Chelsea fans out there. I've got nothing good to say about your squad compared to how PSG is playing, and all of my money is going on PSG. PSG has been devastating in this competition, outscoring their opponents 16-1 up until this point, and we have not seen both teams to score hit in a single of their 6 matches. Both of my bets are PSG focused, and it's starting with the same game parlay of PSG to score in the first half, parlayed with PSG to score in the second half. That gets you to plus 110, and it's hard to get plus numbers when PSG is an almost minus 200 favorite going into this matchup. You guys have talked about how they are possession monsters. They had almost 80% possession against Real Madrid in the first 45 minutes. I just don't see a world, guys, frankly, where Chelsea even keep this a little bit close. We might see a Champions League final repeat if PSG really stay in the form that they are in. Second best bet is going to be a player prop. How do you not bet something on Ousmane Dembélé right now? Him to score or assist is minus 135. It's not the most attractive number by any means, but he only needed 9 minutes against Real Madrid to score and assist. I just need him to do one or the other against Chelsea. And considering I think PSG probably are going to get 3 or 4 goals in this one, of course something's going to come from Ousmane Dembélé here. I
actually like the first bet a lot, the PSG to score in both halves, but it feels like you could get a situation where they're up 3-0 in the first half, and then they just take their foot off the gas, bring it down a couple of notches, and then just kind of like do
because they always take their foot off the gas.
Yeah, but against Real Madrid, against Inter Miami. I mean, hopefully it's not that big of a blowout, and I'm more inclined to do PSG both halves. Or you never know. You know, right when PSG looks like they're not going full throttle, your whole team is looking for that one goal, and like against Real Madrid, done. You get that goal.
Buckets, very quickly before we go to break. How come you're not hitting Ashraf Hakimi anytime assist at plus 270, man? The guy's got assists in back-to-back games, man.
Plus 270. Okay, you know what? Just do whatever Michael Lahoud tells you to do.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, you got to trust Lahoud no matter what now, guys. Plus 270.